What's up, good people? Welcome back to another episode of Finance Friday. I am very happy to have you guys on here. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, a bit more relaxed. I've been getting quite a number of questions, like on your comment section on my Instagram. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, you're missing out on a lot. I'm gonna link a link down below just so that you can follow me. But I asked my followers to ask me any personal finance questions or any personal questions that you have had for me for a while and I've probably not been able to answer them. So today's video obviously is going to be a Q&A. So we are going to be doing these quick fire questions and just answering them. So wherever you are, chill, relax, get your glass of whatever makes you happy, and let's get straight into it. Okay, let's get into it. The first question, what is the best investing point for as low as 1,000 bob? You guys have been here long enough. Honestly, a money market fund, 1,000 bob, a money market fund would be good. The second question is, I'm deep in debt and my salary is less than 50K. How do you tackle this elephant without accruing more debt and still investing? Now, this reminds me a lot about when I was still employed and even after I lost my job. I used to earn a gross of 40,000 Kenyan shillings. When with deductions, help, pay, pension and all that, I used to get around 29,000 and I had quite a lot of debt. So if I was in your situation, what I would do is probably prioritize the debt. You can't pay all the debt at once. Like we need to be very realistic. From 50,000, I'm assuming with bills and everything, what I would advise is definitely like prioritizing your debt. But even before you start prioritizing your debt, look at what got you into debt in the first place. Is it an income problem or a spending problem? If it's a spending problem, definitely have what got you into debt, because one of the reasons why people pay debt and still keep going back is because you've not sorted the root issue as to why you're in debt. If it's a spending problem, go on a no spend challenge, a bare bones budget, all these things I've been talking about so that you can actually stay out of debt. However, if it is an income problem, it might take you a bit longer. Like for me, I was in debt for a while until I was able to grow my business, get into business, and then start accessing more money. And then, of course, I started paying my debt more consistently. But even before the jobs came, I was working with bare minimum. So prioritize the debt. In other words, check out which of your loans are urgent, stubborn, maybe they're giving you sleepless nights, and look at that. And then, of course, in terms of investing, you can invest with as little as 1,000 bob. Like for me, when I was still trying to figure my way out, I used to put 1,000 in money market, another 1,000 in my Stima Sacco account, and 1,000 in, I think it was my pension fund. So I was just doing bare minimum investments so that I don't have zero, because as long as you have zero savings and you're still trying to pay off debt, what happens is that if something comes up, you end up digging deeper into debt because you don't have savings. So I always say, hata kama unafanya bare minimum, just attempt to do the bare minimum. The other question is quite interesting. Someone asked, I get so excited when I get good money, and this makes me overspend on things that I had no plan in buying. How can you help? Now, listen, this happens to the best of us. So many of us get money happy. And one of the things that I love saying on this channel is that I feel like one of the things people need to learn, and this is not spoken about a lot, is you need to learn how to handle high income months. I feel like we talk about low income months, we know, pesa haikuingia enough, or imwezi, I got an emergency, etc. I feel like there's always tips and hacks of how to maneuver low income months or even no income months. But then most of us are not spoken to, or we've not been taught how to handle high income months. So one of the things that I do personally when I get high income, of course, it's a personality issue. I've actually been trying to prepay maybe bills, prepay my savings, investments, etc., just so that I don't keep the money around. I feel like one of the reasons why when you have so much money, you just end up spending is because you've left that money accessible. Mi niko na mazoea ya kujifichia pesa. Nalipangwa check ya 200,000. Hiyo pesa inaingia hivi ikiwa imetoka. Imeenda kwa money market or imeenda mahali pengine. Because as long as the money is sat there and even me with all my discipline, like I'm just seeing 200,000 lying around in my bank account. I'll go for a massage, I'll get my nails done, I will gift my best friends, I will do, because you're feeling rich. I think it's just a matter of creating systems. It's also a personality thing. You can't change your personality, but you can put systems around empowering yourself to not like sabotage yourself. So things like standing orders, things like, hiding even money from yourself through putting it in savings or investments accounts. Just don't leave yourself too liquid on your M-Pesa or on your bank account. You're bound to spend it. I think we need to be realistic about that. The other question, this is quite interesting. How would you invest 900,000? I'm assuming you're asking this question because you probably have 900,000. That's interesting. Now, this is very tricky to answer because now I can answer it from like, where would I invest it as Susan, or where would I, because of course there's no one shoe fits all. I would definitely look at it from the perspective of my bare minimums covered, like emergency funds, etc. So, but I'm assuming because you've asked where would you actually invest, so it's not like you're trying to save or whatever, you just want to know where to grow the money. Bonds. I'm a fan of bonds, so that is ideally where I would put 900,000. The next one. Hey, Suzanne, let me ask. I'm 23 years. I have this job that I get paid 10,000, but they pay me 2,500 per week. How can I manage my finances, seeing as my income comes in on a weekly basis? This is actually a very good question. One of the people I really love to work with and to advise are freelancers. I am one, like freelancers and business owners. Because like your money does not come like money for an employed person. Like your pesa yako inakujanga, like my money comes different times of the month. Sometimes like last month I barely got any payment at all. It's just like irregular. So one of the things I love to tell people, like now for you, if my income was coming in on a monthly basis, I would divide my life in like 4 paychecks. Like I would probably have like like my monthly income comes 2,500, and probably come up with a system of like, when the first 2,500 of the month comes, what am I doing with it? So maybe that's the money you use for house shopping, etc. Then the next 2,500, maybe that's when you renew your internet, like that. I want to assume that you're not paying any rent with this amount of money. I don't think you're able to pay any rent with this. You can let me know. But like that's ideally like payday routine. I call it having a payday routine. If your income comes in irregularly, you actually need to align your planning. So if my money comes in twice a month, I would have 2 payday routines. What do I do when the first paycheck comes in? And what do I do when the second paycheck comes in? So I hope that is helpful. Any short-term investment options like money market funds that would be achievable in dollars? Yes, please. There's a lot. Like we actually have dollar money market funds. I do not like mentioning names. So currently what I'm just going to tell you is that in Kenya, we actually do have dollar money market funds. Actually, just go and Google dollar money market funds in Kenya, and we have quite a lot. Like we have 3 major ones that you can access. So if you want to do short-term investing, but in dollars, you can. The only thing I'll tell you is that the way the Kenya shilling money market fund is set up, most of them you can invest with as little as 5,000, 2,500, 1,000. The dollar money market fund is not set up like that. So you're going to need to have some good dollars. Most of them, the initial investment needs to be around $1,000. So we are talking around 140, 50,000, depending on what the exchange rate is for an initial investment. And then maybe you find top-ups are either $1,000 or $500. But yes, you can open money market funds in dollars. That is very, very, very possible. Okay, for people with little amounts of money, would you recommend treasury bills? Now, what do you define as little? Because I'm looking at the bare minimum amount for investing in treasury bills. So we have treasury bills, the bare minimum amount is 100,000. And then, of course, for bonds, it's either 100,000 for infrastructural bonds or 50,000 for the normal bonds. So if you meant little amounts of money, 100,000 and above, obviously you can access. Now, we don't recommend investments based off of just the amount of money that you have accessible to you. We recommend them based off of like your goals and even like what are you looking to achieve, etc. So, I mean, if for instance, I was trying to preserve, you see, treasury bills are best for short-term capital preservation while earning an interest. In other words, you want to lock your money for 6 months and then get it back, like, and lock it to a point where you can't access it, you can't misuse it, like if it was in a bank account. So of course, I would recommend treasury bills, not just from the perspective of how much money you have, but the goal. So the only time I would invest in a bill would be, I want that short-term capital preservation, like to lock my money, but I also want that money to earn me a good return. Okay. The other question was, if I earn between 70 to 80K, what is the best percentage to contribute for my personal pension plan? Now, we have the basic 50-30-20 budgeting rule of thumb, which serves as a guide, and it stipulates, or how I like to use it is, 50% of your income, net income, should go towards mandatory bills and expenses, 30% towards savings and investments, which is where your retirement fund, or rather your pension fund, comes in, and 20% for like wants, giving, leisure, entertainment, and all of that. A good rule of thumb is always to work with a bare minimum of 10% of your income as a starting point. But however, of course, if you are able to do more, I always recommend that you do more. Actually, what I'm going to do, in the description box down below, I'm going to link like a pension calculator from one of the firms that I like in Kenya. And they have a good calculator where you can put like your age, your current age, the age you want to retire, how much money do you want to be coming in every month. And then now it helps you to understand how much money you should be contributing. I'm not very big on percentages. I like goal-based investing. So I like working from the perspective of an actual goal. Maybe I want, when I retire, for 300,000 to be coming into my account every month. So definitely, yes, you can work with percentages, like 10% is a good bare minimum starting point. Not like forever, just a bare minimum starting point. You can always do more, but I like working with a number as opposed to a percentage, if that makes sense. All right, how do you separate saving for a goal and personal savings? I can't separate those two because, like, for me, say all my savings are goal-based, and that's what I always recommend. Like, I don't understand what saving for a goal, like, or rather maybe you mean like if I'm saving for a car and then personal savings. Like, for me, I've not separated the two. I have 3 very important savings accounts. My emergency fund is a saving account. I'm saving towards like ensuring I'm sheltered in case anything happens to my job or my ability to make income. I have 2 sinking funds. One of them is what I call my lifestyle sinking account. So that one is just pretty much for everything lifestyle. Like, that's just money for car insurance, Christmas, birthdays, home projects, kununua masufuria, all that. And then another money market fund that is, I call it like, I use it to save for investments. So sometimes you want to invest in something, but it costs a lot of money. So you want to kind of like get to the 1 million, 2 million so that you can probably buy a bond with it. So I don't know what you mean, but like for me, I've not separated personal savings and like goal-based savings. Like for me, all my savings are goal-based. Like all my savings accounts have a goal attached to them. So I don't know whether that answers your question. I really do hope it does. Where can I invest 500K for returns? I got a lot of these questions. Where do I invest 500K? Where do I invest 900,000? What I'm just going to say is that ensure that you, first of all, define what you're looking for. If I was looking for passive income, I'd probably put it in a bond. If I'm looking for capital accumulation and maybe like you need more money to invest somewhere, I'd probably just put it, say maybe in a bill or whatever, and wait for it to like grow into a bigger amount, maybe even a money market fund, a circle. There's so many options that you can actually do. I usually, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's one place I can tell you, this is where you can invest an X amount of money. Guys, again, we are not investing based off of the amount of money we have. We are investing based off of the goal. So I'd encourage you, if you sent me any one of these questions, for, where do I actually invest this X amount of money, I would highly recommend that just recalibrate a little bit. I know it might sound like a lot of work, but trust me, it's going to be very easy for you to know where to invest your money when you ask yourself, what do I want? Do I want to store this money and use it elsewhere? Do I want it to give me passive income? Do I want for it to just be earning interest and growing? Once you've been able to figure out what you would want that money to do for you, then it's very easy to like know where to invest. I mean, you can even now come and ask me, hi coach, I have 1 million and I'm looking for passive income, or I have 1 million and I want to put it somewhere where it can earn compound interest. Then I can actually give you a specific response. So please, for this one specific question, if you learn anything from me today, please remember, we are not investing based off of how much money we have only. Yes, that is a factor, but we also want to invest based off of, what do I want to achieve? What am I looking for? Okay? All right. Is land investing a brilliant thing to do, like buying land in those remote places? Let us have the land conversation, guys. Now, I'm gonna give you my own personal opinion. I'm not saying that this is what you should do, but this is what I think, okay? Now, whether you invest in land or not is not a factor, again, of whether it is a good or a bad investment. For me, I believe that it is whether you are at a state where investing in real estate can be beneficial for you or not. I read that tweet somewhere that I felt really resonated with me. And you guys can let me know. In fact, at this particular point, I'd like you to just listen to this and let me know if you agree, and please put it down in the comment section. The guy wrote that land or real estate is not an avenue for the poor to get rich. Rather, it is an avenue for the rich to store their wealth. Now, most people would be like, oh my God, like unajaribu kusema nini? But then I honestly felt like that person took what I've been feeling and literally put it in English words that make sense, or that made sense. Because like, sometimes I usually talk to clients, and sometimes someone is telling me, oh, I have land in Nanyuki for 300,000, another one in Kijabe for X amount of money. And then you add up all the amount of like the little pieces of land that this person have. Maybe they have parcels of land probably worth up to maybe 2 or 3 million. But then they are all undeveloped pieces of land. There's even not any money to build or to do farming. Like they're probably waiting to appreciate in value or whatever. But then you find that this person has a cash flow issue. Like they probably do not have an emergency fund worth 3 million. They do not have a liquid investment worth 3 million. And then like for me, to be honest, it does not make sense, because I'm like, in the case of an emergency, or in the case that an opportunity has come up and maybe me spending that 3 million on this business venture, on this investment opportunity could have made sense, then you see I've missed out on it. Because ideally what is happening in this scenario, for example, is that I am asset rich, but cash poor. So I don't believe in being asset rich and cash poor, especially if you're like what I would consider maybe like a low income earner, unajaribu kupanda middle class. Siwezi recommend like my first investment ikuwe shamba. And I'll be honest with you guys, I personally have never bought like a piece of land up to like where I am right now in my life. And it's not that I'm never going to do it, but I generally just feel like I would like to build like my investment portfolio, like my liquid investment portfolio, my passive income sources first. And then I feel like eventually like I will get to that point where I'm able to lock money in an asset for one reason or the other, and I can be able to afford that. I have 4 million seated somewhere right now. Guys, mi mkinipea tu 4 million sai nafikiria vile nita multiply hiyo pesa. Sifikiri vile nitajenga nayo ama And then also another thing, I'm also pretty young. I'm turning 30 next year. I do not have children yet. I do not know that I will even be in Kenya in the next 2 to 3 years. I wouldn't necessarily want to kind of like buy a piece of property or a piece of land and then say, oh, this is where I want my family to grow, because God can open opportunities and I travel elsewhere. Maybe my partner and I decide to relocate. Maybe we decide to raise our children elsewhere. I would like to just give myself that probability, that possibility of flexibility. So I am a happy renter. So to answer, I don't know, I know I've rambled a lot there, but I'm just saying land is not a straightforward thing. Brilliant is not the word I would use for purchasing land. I feel like personally me feel kama real estate iko na wenyewe. Like you have to get to a particular level of financial cushioning and financial stability to be able to afford locking your money in some of these assets, and also real estate and land, especially the really, really good type of it, it's quite capital intensive. So that that is what I think, okay? All right. The other question is, how do you get your siblings and close friends to pay back their loans? Immortal. Now, do I loan siblings and friends? Honestly, no. Not that I do not give people money, but I've come a long way, and one of the things I've learned is that if I am loaning a sibling or a friend money, I'm actually giving you money that in my head, not that at inapanga usilipe, but like in my mind or at the back of my head, I'm like, this person may or may not pay. Now, I started by like giving you guys a disclaimer. I don't necessarily like operate on a loan basis, especially like with family. Honestly, mimi family, kile nafanyanga mtu akiwa na shida na nataka pesa, I give you what I can. Let's say someone is like, oh, so nikopeshe 20,000, give me 20,000, I'm gonna refund you. And maybe like I'm just like, yeah, I could easily give you 20,000, but if I know anything is it may or may not come back, and maybe I'm not comfortable in losing 20,000, what I'll mostly do is I'll probably just tell you, hey, sina 20,000 say, but neza kakupea 5. Like I can give you 5,000 right now. Why I've done that is just that I've looked at an amount that whether you pay me or not, I'm gonna feel bad, but it's also not going to be catastrophic. But if you don't pay me 20,000, we're in problems. So how do you get them to pay you back? I don't know. Ask for the money. But then I've always been like, to be quite honest, I judge people by their little money habits. Like, I don't mean like whether someone paid me 100,000. I look at whether someone paid me the 200 bob that aliniambia nimlipie parking na kama imerudi. Not that, I know some people would call that stingy, but like for me, that's how I judge who I can loan money, because how people behave with small money is also how they'll behave with big money. If you're the kind of friend that you're always like, when we go out, you're like, oh, ebo sijui, my wallet was lost, my card is not working, my M-Pesa is not working, pay for me. I'm happy to do that. But then if like kuna mazoea, like I pay, and then you always like ignore, you're like all of a sudden you've forgotten that I paid for you the other time it was your parking, the other time it was, oh, can we fuel, I'll refund you. Like, you see that friend or that family member that has already, they already have a proven track record. You know, you guys, let me know if you get what I mean in the comment section. Like, there are friends who have a proven, and family who have a proven track record of not paying. I just have to be beaten once or twice. Like, when you do it the first time and you do it the second time, mimi sinanga aibu. Like, I have no shame whatsoever. I'll just tell you I don't have money, and then tomorrow you will see me posting, having lunch with my friends or whatever. Like, I'm just like, I don't have money to give you. I know that sounds bad. I'm just like, I know it's a personality thing. I've come a long way. So if you can't get them to pay you, you'll just have to let your money go. But then also, if you lose money to friends and family who don't pay you, I hope that is like a learning point to be careful who you lend and utilize your no's, guys. I always tell people, if we learned how to say no when it comes to money, a lot of us would avoid a lot of problems with family. The same person also asked me, how do I avoid black tax or mitigate black tax? Again, this is a boundaries issue. Now, when it comes to black tax, this is a subject that is actually very close to my heart. I do support my family in a large way. And like, it wasn't always a joy to do it, because I had not learned, again, how to say no. I had also not learned how to draw boundaries, and I'd also never learned how to communicate what I can or cannot. And as I've grown in my journey as an adult, and just kind of like beginning to become more assertive as a person, I've just learned to kind of like say no when I need to say no. I've learned to communicate where it matters. A lot of us are complaining forgive. Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe YouTube will do something if I use that one. But anyway, a lot of us are just complaining online and, complaining to our friends that, I'm paying black tax, but you've never even told the people who you're complaining about that you're not comfortable. So they ask you, oh, pay school fees, do this. And you're just like, hey, ni sawa tu. But then you go and tell your friends you're not okay with it and complain about it on social media. I am such a believer in make noise where it matters. If I have a problem with my brother asking me for money left, right, and center, instead of telling my friends my brother keeps doing this, that, and the other, I'll actually tell him that I feel like it is unfair, or I feel like I'm not able to sustain, blah, blah, blah. Like, have the hard conversations. Guys, black tax is about conversations, if you ask me. Because, sometimes black tax happens because you are empowering, you're enabling people. And then sometimes black tax is really, really needed. Like for me, in my case, a lot of the reason why I had or still have black tax are just unavoidable things. Not that you're enabling someone or someone is just like being lazy. It is just situations. We grew up poor. We never had money growing up. I'm a first generation wealth creator, or wealth builder. Like I started with nothing. I'm still trying to kind of help even my younger sibling come up, ensuring he's getting all the right education and the right opportunities, because unless that is done, that cycle of poverty will not end and it won't stop. So you see, for me, that is not something I can do away with, but it also does not mean that I need to be mistreated in any means, way, or form. I can communicate and say, this is as far as I can go. You guys now need to figure out the rest of the things. So how do you avoid or mitigate? I think I would just say communicate, say no, draw boundaries, but also investigate why it's existing. Why is black tax existing? Is it because I'm enabling these people? A lot of you are enabling your family members, your siblings. Mtu amesoma, kona degree, they have everything. They could even go and sell boiled eggs on the streets, but then they are constantly asking you for money for luxuries like airtime and all that. I'm just like, if you have the capability, unless you're unwell or for one reason or the other, you're not able to make a valid reason, you're not able to make money, then there's a very fine line between enabling and helping. So are you actually helping? If you're helping, then just draw boundaries and communicate how far you can go. But if you're enabling, then you also need to look within and figure out what is this emotional reason, because it's also very emotional that a lot of us, we want to say no, but we can't say no. Now you see, that's not a black tax issue, that's a you issue. It's a boundaries issue. So that's what I would say about that. What are some of the key considerations for single parents planning for retirement and education? Oh, guys, listen. I had a whole 4-part series on protection, retirement planning, and thinking especially around retirement and for single parents. So I'm actually going to link the link to the series down below. We talked a lot about retirement planning. How do you do it and how do you plan for education? But then what I would say, what should the key considerations be? Of course, as a single parent, you're the sole breadwinner of this dependence. So I would actually look at, the first thing I would do as a single parent is definitely to get a life insurance cover, especially if whoever your dependents are still in their vulnerable age. So I'm talking they're 18 years and below, so that if anything was ever to happen to you during the years where they still are in school, they're vulnerable, they're dependent on an adult, then you are actually able to, they can get some money. And the thing with life insurance, and if you work with a will or an estate plan, you can even dictate what that money can do. Probably you want, this payout to go towards their education, all the way to uni and all of that. And then also retirement planning. I don't think you must choose between the two of them, because sometimes I'm always you'll focus all your energy on educating your child, and then by the time they're done with school, you're now turning 65 and it's time to retire. And now is the time you're thinking, I'm going to calm down now and start planning for retirement. I would say find a way to do both. But the most important thing I would do is definitely to get a life insurance. And I would most definitely put, even if it's a bare minimum amount, towards a personal pension fund, if you don't already have one with your employer. And then, of course, start looking into investments. Honestly, guys, when I think education, I think cash flow, because anyone will know. You think about education. I've paid school fees for my younger sibling now. for a while, and he's almost graduating. And like, I mean, when I hear school fees, I don't have children of mine, but like when I hear school fees, I think cash flow. Like you need money that's constantly flowing. So how would I plan for education? I would start thinking around an investment, whether that's a business, real estate, bonds. Like I would start thinking about an investment I can accumulate money for, put it aside, so that throughout the period of this child's education, there's like a source of income with or without a job. So that's why I always tell people, I'm not a firm believer in education policies per se. I believe in investing for education, because education needs cash flow. The only thing that can give you cash flow is either a business or investments, like consistent cash flow. Okay? How do you balance between saving, investing, and financial obligations? I think this is such a good question, honestly, because one of the feedback that I keep getting from you guys is that, Susan, this 50,000 that I have, or this 30,000 that I have, how is it supposed to pay my bills, save and invest all at the same time? Guys, I've always specified this, and I'm just going to repeat it again. Every time you find yourself in a cash crunch kind of a situation, please, first of all, start by analyzing why you are where you are. Like, why aren't you able to balance between bills, savings, and investments? Sometimes, again, there are two main problems. It's either a spending problem, like you're not living within your means. You're earning 80,000, but you live in a house where you're paying 40,000. So half your salary is going to like rent only, and you've not even catered to other things. So I would say, I would first identify, do I have a spending problem, and that is why I'm unable to balance? Or do I have an income problem? By a spending problem, I just mean like you're not living within your means. Guys, you need to live within, if you earn 40,000, you need to live within the means of someone who actually earns 40,000. When you start earning more, of course you can. So I would first of all say, how do you balance? You first establish like, what is the reason I'm unable to balance? If it's a spending problem, then look at your spending habits. If you need to scale down. But then if it's an income problem, there's no shortcut to that. You just need to get more income. For me, I had an income problem. Like the moment that I was able to start bringing in more money, I've seen growth. Like I'm able to meet my bills, but at the same time, I'm actually able to save, I'm able to invest, and even to have surplus for enjoyment. Just because, honestly, we need to be honest about the power of making more money. So once you've been able to identify what the problem is, I feel like you can. And then, of course, you balance with a budget. Okay? 50, 30, 20, or as many budgeting strategies that I've been talking about. I'm actually going to link a video down below on budgeting strategies, so maybe you can look at that. All right. Let me see what else we have here. I've answered most of these questions because most of you guys wanted to know where to invest your money. I love this question. Is it a good idea to invest in Kenyan markets or markets abroad? I would not say it is either, or I would say it is a good thing to invest both in the Kenyan market, and also, if you are capable, have some of your investments in either a foreign currency, like dollar investments or euro investments, but you can also invest in market abroad. And now we have quite a number of even Kenyan companies that are giving you access to like the S&P 500, EFTs and all that. Okay? Let me see what else. How do I start investing in bonds? Quite straightforward. You just have to go to the CBK website, and on the homepage, you'll actually see the new portal that now bonds you're able to actually invest virtually through the DoCSD account. So just go to the CBK website on the homepage, and you'll actually see how to open an account, and then you can start your investment journey. Can I hire your services with a 15K salary? I would say it just depends on the service that you're looking for. I have quite affordable self-paced courses. I'm gonna be linking them down in the description box below. You can also see what I charge for consultation services. So for anything above the consultation services, you'd probably have to save for a while to be able to afford like the one-on-one coaching services. Let me see if there's any other thing. Oh, is doing an MBA advisable 2 years into your career? Listen, guys, when I actually finished school, I thought I was gonna do like a master's immediately. Of course, money refused, but I'm actually quite grateful that it did, because whatever I thought I wanted to master in is not what I would master in now if I do end up going back to school to master. So what do I think about an MBA? Honestly, this is very subjective. I would look at it from the perspective of return on investment. Don't just do one because people are saying having an MBA is good. I would look at it from the perspective, like in my own personal career, like in my career trajectory, is me having an MBA going to give me my return on investment? How long is it? I would look at it like a money investment. If it actually makes sense and you see how immediately you graduate or a few months after graduation, that is just going to elevate your career and like maybe give you the potential to earn more money, why not? I would actually do it. Let me see what else. Are money market funds really worth investing? I find the returns quite low. Guys, money market funds are low risk investments, which ideally means low return. So the lower the risk, the lower the return. So definitely, whether it is worth it or not really depends on the purpose. I wouldn't necessarily consider like a money market fund a pure investment. For me, I'm able to kill two birds with one stone with an MMF. I'm able to save because there's capital preservation, but I'm also able to invest on a very low return because my income is actually earning like a return that if you get a good money market fund that gives you around 9%, then you're actually able to be compensated for inflation. What do you think? What do you think about females who want to be mothers and what they should do to prepare themselves for that with filling the bag? Okay, from what I'm getting, what do you think females wanting to be mothers should do to prepare for that without filling the bag? This is probably one of something that is very close to my heart. I love talking to women, and I love that women are now thinking about like, how can I juggle being both like a mom and still be able to secure the bag? I have not yet gotten there, but I will tell you what I'm personally doing. One of the things that I'm currently doing, especially as a business owner, because I know that the moment I do start the journey of motherhood, I'm not going to be able to go hard. You guys, I go hard. Like sometimes I'm working 15-hour days. I am able to work like at night. I'm able to wake up. But when a baby comes, everything is going to change. So what I'm doing is I'm currently rewiring like the structure of my business, doing more digital courses and digital products on my website so that I can have more passive income. What I would say is that if you're not a mother already, there's, start looking at it from the perspective of how can I actually, because especially if you're in business, you see, if you're employed, at least employed people get like a 3 months paid maternity leave. For me, I am the employer. I'll have to pay myself that 3 months paid maternity leave. So I really have to think about like my sources of income within my business model. But then also something that a close older mentor of mine told me is that the truth of the matter, as much as we might try to get the solution to do it all, there's no such thing as balance. And I feel like that is the pressure off of me. Just knowing that when I'm focusing on parenting, I will drop a ball on this YouTube channel. I will drop a ball on my social media. I'll drop a ball in my career. And that's okay, because like I feel like most of us are losing our minds because we are so focused on like we are going crazy, quite literally, mentally, getting sick because we are trying to be the boss babe. You're trying to also be the perfect wife, the perfect friend. You're showing up every Friday and you're also parenting. No human being should be able to carry all that load. All I'm just saying is that for me, nimekubali to like my career will probably take a bit, like I'll loosen, my grip on that gas pedal for a while to focus on motherhood. And then when baby is a bit, older and I'm able to work while still parenting, then I'm just going to pick up from where I left. Or if I've been slacking, just press the gas pedal. So I feel like being told that by an older woman who's very, very successful just made me like easing the pressure off of myself. Like I'm not trying to do it all right now. If I do get there, I'll just allow myself to do what God has allowed me in this season. If in this season what I can focus on is motherhood, of course, I'm working behind the scenes to ensure that even when I'm on maternity leave, you guys will still hopefully be getting videos. You will still have courses you can buy and do digital products, so that like a small amount of income is still coming even if I'm not actively like working. Yes, and then maybe just an unpopular opinion. Get a husband, a good supportive husband, so that when you're focusing on parenting, he can carry the slack. Honestly, though, unless if it is not accessible, then pambana. But if it is, I feel like that is actually a very viable solution. Like, get you a supportive partner to do that. Now, how do you handle finances as a couple? I got a lot of this. How do you handle finances as a couple? Do you have to have separate savings and investment accounts, or do you combine? I got quite a number of this. In fact, the most popular question was this, and also where do I invest X amount of money? Now, when it comes to marriage, one thing I will say, managing finances in a marriage setting has very little to do with money. For me, it has everything to do with the nature of your relationship, which is why I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a one-shoe-fits-all approach that you should use in marriage or managing finances. But there are two things that I honestly feel must be there. Like, whether you guys have joint accounts, separate accounts or not, these are the two things that I personally feel like for money to work in a marriage setting or in a relationship should be there. Number one, transparency. Like, as long as you're hiding, I'm hiding, we are lying to each other, I genuinely feel like there's not going to be any progress. And I know there are many reasons why people like lie and hide and they are not transparent. Insecurities, childhood trauma, maybe you've been financially abused before, etc. But what I'm saying is that I don't think a couple can harmonize finances. I mean, it's already hard enough for me to be honest with myself about my own personal finances. It's already even difficult for me to face my finances and be honest about what's happening. So it is not unheard of. It's not majority of people actually, their spouses don't know what they earn. They are never planning to tell them, etc. But what I'm just trying to say is that as long as there is no that transparency, I honestly don't think that there can be a healthy money relationship between a couple. Kuna mmoja atakuwa anabeba mwingine ufala. Like, just there's something somewhere that is not going to be working very well as long as there's no transparency. And then now you see that transparency issue, it's not a money issue. It is a, how do we relate? What are my traumas? Have I healed from my traumas? Is this person trustworthy? Am I safe in this relationship? So you see, I always feel like money in relationships is more than just money. It is the nature of your relationship and how healed you are as a person and how healed and healthy the marriage relationship is. But I feel like that honesty and transparency, for me, it is powerful. Mwache kuficha pesa, kama, like, if, for me in my mind, I'm not saying that this is what the norm should be, but what I'm saying is that if I envision my life forever with this person in a meaningful relationship, I want to work on our honesty and our transparency and our traumas and the ways in which we have hurt each other so that we can get to that point where I actually feel like I can trust you with my money. You know why? Because I trust you with my body. I share the same bed with you. You could probably stab me in the night. Like, we are sharing all of these things. How is it that now I'm lying to you about money? Now, I'm saying that I do understand that in some scenarios that's justified, but it is also not ideal. The second thing that I think should be there is definitely partnership and mutual respect. Every time I have seen a couple, and I work with a lot of couples, by the way, couples who are honest with each other, there's that mutual respect and they partner. Like, you're not feeling like, oh, well, unaniambia nini. Most husbands don't like to be told by their wives what to do with their money. They feel like, is the rent paid? Is school fees paid? Then don't ask me where the rest of my money is going. Or the baby's like, si tumekula na msichana wa kazi amelipwa. Don't ask me where the rest of my money is going. As long as like that is happening, let me tell you guys, there's power in like partnership. So I've also seen that couples who have been able to get all these insecurities out of the way, and there's that trust and mutual respect, like no one is planning to abuse or misuse the other person, those families thrive. They move very fast, like they're able to get property, investments, their children go to good schools. So that's my opinion as a couple, or rather like the two most important values, that honesty and transparency and also mutual respect. So how should you do it? I am not a firm believer in like joint accounts only or individual accounts. For me, what works is that he has his own personal accounts and investments. I have my own personal accounts and investments. And then matters the family, like family projects, children's education, joint investments or property. Then we have like joint, like I honestly feel like everyone should also have like their own independence, because just because you're married does not mean that you're not independent individuals. Like these two people are independent, and I feel like for me a beautiful marriage is, I like to think of it as freedom within boundaries. Like yes, we are both free to be different individuals, to have different money personalities and different money styles, but like we have that freedom within boundaries. Okay. So that's what I feel. I feel honestly, you should have your own accounts, he should have his own accounts, and then for matters family and children, probably now do it like together and jointly, because like our children are going to be ours, the two of us, so we might as well partner. Let's say our retirement home itakuwa yetu sisi wote wawili, so we may partner on that. Our trips, if we travel, vacation, they involve the both of us, so we can partner on those things. But then of course, this is not like the gospel truth. It is very, very dynamic depending like on the nature of your relationship.